Hi everyone. So this week's video is focused on exploring something that can transform the way people experience not only their weight loss journey, but life itself. So the idea is simply not every thought needs believing. Now that might sound obvious at first, but when I'm coaching people, I do some exercises where I ask them to think about that and to look at their own experience. And when they do it, they often see the complete opposite. They think about it for a moment and then they go, oh, do you know what? I might spend more time tracking my thoughts. You know, so for example, you wake up one morning feeling very optimistic, motivated, and full of confidence. Um, you think to yourself, I'm doing really well. I'm finally getting the hang of this. Everything's going to be great. Then perhaps the next day, you've had a poor night's sleep. The previous day has been stressful. You've eaten a little bit more than you planned to. You've drunk a bit. And suddenly your mind says something completely different. I'm never going to get there. I'm really useless at this. I've blown it again. What's interesting is that both sets of thoughts, can feel absolutely true while we're having them. We rarely stop to question them. We simply assume that because we're thinking something, it must be telling us the truth. But is it? Um, Imagine standing beside a river, it's gently flowing, and on the surface of the river, there are leaves. And some of those leaves will drift by very quickly, but others will move much more slowly. Some of the leaves are large, some of them are tiny. Over time, they all continue on their journey downstream. Now, imagine if every time a leaf floated past you, you felt that you had to jump into the river and grab hold of it. You had to inspect it, you had to analyze it, and decide whether it deserved your attention. It would be incredibly exhausting. Most of us would simply stand there and watch the leaves pass. We don't actually think they require anything from us. And actually, thoughts work in exactly the same way. Throughout every day, thoughts appear, and some of the thoughts are really useful. When you're planning and organizing things, they can be very important. Some of them are creative, they're seeing new ways of doing things, and some of them really do genuinely solve problems. Others, though, simply reflect how busy you are, how tired you are, how stressed you are, all the things you've got to, you got to look after. And your mind can just get attracted to those. And we can treat every thought as though it's an accurate description of our reality. But when you look at them, and this really is what I'm suggesting you do, some of those thoughts will say you're making brilliant progress, but you could quite quickly get another thought that says you're failing. One says you've cracked it, you're on your way. The other says, nah, nothing's going right. You ate a biscuit you shouldn't have had. Oh, crisis, you missed a workout. The thoughts change. And the thing is, we happen to believe whichever one tends to be passing through. Now, one of the great things that people begin to notice as they go through the LightMinds program is that something starts to change quite naturally. Now, what I want to emphasize, and because I frequently come across this with the people I coach, People that progress through light minds don't become positive thinkers. That's not the purpose. They don't spend their time trying to replace negative thoughts with positive ones. We don't ask people to repeat affirmations, trying to convince themselves that they're wonderful. What we're asking people to do is to see thoughts for what they really are. And that is simply passing mental events, just like the leaves on the river. And when you see them, something remarkable can begin to happen for you. You stop believing every passing thought. Even more importantly, you stop being pushed around by every thought and feeling that comes up, every urge that appears. Now, you don't suddenly become immune to urges or immune to stress. But what happens is some of the feelings that you're experiencing lose their authority. Think about this. You've had a difficult week and you go, "Oh, I deserve some chocolate." And in the past, you thought that felt like an instruction, something that you had to obey. And then you might actually experience you just noticing it. And that noticing is all you need. And you say to yourself, "Oh, that's interesting. That's my mind suggesting chocolate again." Now, at that point, nothing needs fixing, nothing needs fighting. The thought can simply pass. But you can still have the chocolate. That's a remarkable thing. Some people go, "What?" No, you can still have the chocolate. It's the noticing, it's just becoming aware, which actually has the impact over time. You don't have to get things exactly right. So imagine you've missed a workout. You couldn't bother to get up in the morning. And your mind goes, "Well, that's it. I've fallen off the wagon again. I knew I couldn't do this." And then because you believe the thought, it influenced what happened next. And so because you felt that you've fallen off the wagon, you missed the next workout, that kind of thing. And the important thing about this is other things can unfold, and once you're off it, you're off it. And it's not because the workout mattered that much. It's actually because the thought did. Now imagine noticing exactly the same thought. The thought comes in your head, "I failed." But instead of treating it as a fact, you recognize it just for another leaf floating past. You don't need to discuss it. You don't need to argue with it. You don't need to replace it. You certainly don't need to climb into the river to rescue it. Because of that, it becomes much easier to make your next healthy choice. See, so one meal doesn't define the day. One missed workout doesn't define your journey. None of them define who you are. Now, change, when you experience change, you're not looking for life to become perfect. What you're doing is you're looking not to react to everything that appears as thought. Because what happens then, everything calms down. And it's from that calmer place that you gain much better clarity. And from that place, you can make much better choices. Eating becomes less emotional. Exercise feels less like a punishment. And after setbacks, you recover much more quickly. And that's not because, and this is important to say because sometimes people on a weight loss journey think it's all about willpower. You don't suddenly develop incredible willpower. We're all limited by the level of willpower we have. It's not because of that that things change. But you don't take every passing thought or feeling so seriously. Now, that's the freeing thing. So, have an experiment, test it out for yourself. When unhelpful thoughts pop up, have a look at it, see what it is, pause, notice it, and ask yourself, is this something genuinely I need to act on, or is this just another leaf passing by? And you don't need to answer perfectly, just become curious. You might be surprised that the thoughts don't have to run your life. It was simply passing through. And the more you begin to see that, the lighter life starts to feel. And when life starts to feel light, you might be surprised how easy things become, the choices you make. And I repeat something I said earlier, which is really important. You don't have to get this right all the time. You can follow the thoughts. Don't worry about that. That's just the way it is. Okay? It's just recognizing it over time. Things change. Thanks so much.